everybody, this is Lauren and I am so excited to share with you one of my latest creations. This is a Rubric template generator, and so this is actually designed to go along with the second grade ELA standards for North Carolina, which is essentially the same thing as the Common Core state standards, just a little bit more detailed. So here on the instructions for use page, you have your instructions, but I'm just going to go through this very quickly for you. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to come over here to setup, and I'm just going to put in just a couple of names really quick, just as a sample. You obviously would have more students. If I were doing this, if you teach multiple classes, then I would definitely have a different workbook per class. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to decide, or after you've put in your names, you're going to decide, do you want to house all of your rubrics here in this same file so that you have access to everybody in one place? Or do you want to create a different file for each one of your students housed in a Google folder in your drive, but then you could share those rubrics back with the individual students, and you could have data conversations and they can kind of track their own data as well. Completely up to you. So let's say that you decide that you just want to keep everything together in this one file. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up to Mastery Rubric menu, and you are going to click Run Setup. So the very first time you do this, it's going to ask you to authorize, and it's going to tell you that it's unsafe and all this kind of stuff. I promise you, I've coded this myself. It is completely safe. So you've decided that you're going to keep everything in this workbook. So we're going to choose a sheet per student in this workbook. Here's what I'm talking about. The very first time you do this, you only have to do it once, but you will have to give it permission to run. Let's pull this up here so you can see it. So it says Google hasn't verified this app. It's just because I'm not sending it in to get verified. That's a lot. So I'm going to click go to advanced and then go to Mastery Rubric Template. And so again, I promise you, not doing anything nefarious. It's all good. So once you've given it permission, we're going to come back over here and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to run setup and a sheet per student. When we click this, what it's going to do is it is going to, down along the bottom here, it is going to create a tab for each one of your students, and each one of your students is going to get this rubric template. Now, I should have told you, before you run your copies, make sure that you don't want to make any changes to the rubric itself. Just do all of that before you run your copies. So now I can come into Paul's spreadsheet, and as I'm meeting with him or doing pre-test and post-test things, I can look at his work and say, okay, well, he's developing in RL 2.1, and he's developing here. Here, he's pretty proficient all the way down, but then when we get to 2.4, you know, he really struggles with that. And so you can see it's automatically color coding for you. And so at a glance, you can really see what students need more support and which ones don't. But let's say rather than keeping everything in one workbook, you actually want to create an individual workbook for each one of your students and house it in a different Google folder. So what we can do is we can, this time when we come up to the rubric, we want to run setup, and we want to run it so that there's going to be a new workbook per student generated. When we click that, we're going to get some new column headers here, and there's actually two pieces of information that we now need to give the script. We need to name the Google Drive folder where all of these individual workbooks are going to be housed. So I'm just going to name this ELA Mastery Rubrics, because that's what's going in there. And then I need to come down to F and tell it what I want the back end of the name of these workbooks to be. So the first part is going to be the student's name. So it's going to be Paul and then whatever we put here. So I'm going to say the same thing, ELA Mastery Rubric. Okay, so Paul, ELA Mastery Rubric, Lauren, ELA Mastery Rubric, Kaiten, ELA Mastery Rubric, and they're all going to go in this folder right here. So now it's time for me to actually create these individual workbooks. So we're going to come back to the menu and we're going to click Create Workbooks. Once you do that, you're going to start to see some information populating on your spreadsheet here. The first thing that you're going to see is the Google Drive folder link where all of these workbooks are going to be housed, so you have easy access to it from this one spreadsheet. And as the individual workbooks are being created, you're also going to have the links to those here readily available to you as well. So if I open up this folder in my Drive, I'm going to see all of my students' workbooks here, and I can click on it, and there is the rubric ready to go for Kaiten. All right. The last thing that you're able to do with this script is you can actually share the workbooks back to your students. So let's say that Lauren has been doing a lot of extra work and making a lot of extra effort, and so you really want her to be able to begin tracking her own growth. So we're going to share Lauren's workbook with her. So you can do all of your students, or you can pick and choose which students you want to share it with, and then we're going to come back up to our Mastery Rubric and we're going to share the workbook. Once it's done sharing, you can check to make sure that this was actually shared. You can go back into this folder and you can open up the student file that you created, and if it says share with the little people, you can hover your mouse over it and it says shared with one person. So that's how you know that the script worked. So I hope that this will be a useful tool for you. I am also going to do a generic Mastery Rubric where you'll be able to load in your own rubrics and do the same kind of thing. So definitely check back to my Teachers Pay Teachers store as well as my blog at www.iteachteacherstech.us.